Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading from The Secret Practice, 18 Years on the Dark Side of Yoga by Joelle Tamraz, who is a creator on here who does some great content about one-one cults and narcissistic partners. So right now, she is in India. She is like a 20 or 22-year-old woman who just graduated from Harvard, and she's with her yogi, who is just at this point her yogi. After we'd finished reading one evening, the night air still warm, he got up, and as he walked to his room, he turned back, and the words, "Good night, love," escaped from his mouth. He spoke so softly I almost didn't hear it, but he had said it. He was my teacher, and I felt love for him too. But could it be the same for him? Did he love me? Cult leaders always pushing the edge of what is appropriate interaction with their followers, right? It says, "Good night, love," very softly, which can be played off any kind of way if she has a bad reaction. By the way, when gross men are like, "It was just a joke," that's the same thing they're doing. On our last evening by the ocean, we went to a restaurant for dinner. Arun believed in eating a single main meal per day at lunch, and our dinners had consisted of savory South Indian snacks from a local street vendor, controlling your foods a little bit. But he wanted to do something special before we left. We squeezed into tight seats around a rectangular table, and as he passed my chair to reach his, the hard pressure of his pelvis grazed my arm. We know this is on purpose, because how many times you going around grazing arms with your pelvis? While we waited for our food, Sarat and Usha smiled. Although they spoke little English, we communicated through facial expressions and a handful of words. Arun spoke about the elders. They have a mission for me. One morning, millions of people will wake up from the same dream and recognize my face. This seemingly messianic mission alarmed me. Even if it was necessary for the world, I didn't like the idea of millions of people recognizing my teacher as their spiritual leader. I told him I won't do it. Find someone else. He sounded determined, and I relaxed, but it was the first time I understood the reach of the elders and the power of their plans. If they saw Arun as a savior, how long could he resist? There was still so much I didn't understand. Our return journey took us through Mysore, where we visited the Royal Gardens and Palace, and Bangalore, a larger, more commercial city where we stopped at a mall. Arun asked Usha and me to pick out new Indian ladies' suits. I changed out of the male pajamas in which I felt comfortable and chose a white outfit with a fuchsia floral pattern down the middle. I left the shop in the starched tunic and trousers, a long matching scarf over my shoulder. I felt confident in my new femininity and smiled with self-assurance in the photos he took on that day. So two things, gender role enforcing, gender dress enforcing, which is very common in coercive control, and also just controlling your appearance. And cult leaders often get involved in changing the appearances of their followers. Back in Delhi, at the end of our southern tour, he asked whether I wanted to replace my thick glasses. I hadn't given much thought to them before, but once he suggested the idea, it made perfect sense. We went to a gleaming optometrist on Connaught Place, and I selected a designer frames with ultra-thin lenses. Since I'd sent the money from New York, Arun was paying not only for our trip to the South, but also for the new suits and new glasses. He wasn't just teaching me the secret practice. He was helping me become my best self. That last line was the whole reason I wanted to read this snippet, because, as I've said before, anywhere in the space of personal transformation, predators can and will show up, and the self-help world can be very, very dangerous for that. And in fact, when I was recording this as a video book, which you can get in my Patreon if you're interested in listening rather than reading, somebody from India had said, just like, "Oh my God, he's such a sleazy, like, con man." And these American girls just fall so hard for these dudes. And, you know, I say this with all the love for cult survivors, right? They often walk themselves in with their eyes wide open. And it's not that their eyes aren't open enough. It's that the cult leader or recruiter is manipulating and deceiving and pushing the lines, right? So this is all part of how they set it up. If you have never read a 1-1 cult book or a yoga cult book, Joelle Tamraz's book, I think, is groundbreaking. You can get copies attached here.